Hello friends, let us today look at research design and maybe brief process. Now let us start in detail, okay, of research process. As I told you in the last chapter, research introduction chapter, we have to first have a problem, and then we try to have objectives, hypothesis, and all that. But in practical, if we write paper or if we do PhD, the first process is area identification. We have to first identify which area we want to write a paper, or which area we want to do a research, or which area we want to do PhD. Area may be a broad finance area or HR area or marketing area or science. So in science there may be many areas. So area. Now first, if you identify the area, then you will have a identification with regard to which area I am working on. Okay, so if that is clear, then you go for literature review. So literature review on the area which you are interested. Okay, literature review on the area which you are interested. Now this is a broad area we are talking about. We are not focused on now narrow area. It is broad area. Okay, so literature review, we identify all the resources which are available in that area. Now while identification of literature review also, we should take note of the best citation papers. That is, there are many papers with highest citations, or many papers which are from a reputed journal. So that is very important, because if you look at ordinary paper or papers which are of less quality, then you may also take those parameters or methods or variables which may not be of high standard. So while going for literature review, everyone should be very careful that you are looking at a quality journal or quality research resources. Okay, so that is one area. One criteria is citations. Okay, citation is number of times the papers are reviewed by the others or outsiders. So once literature review is done, you will have an identification now with regard to your area, broad area, as well as your narrow topic. Okay, now that is nothing but title. See, once you identify area, you take all the literature with regard to that particular area. Now you will have an identification with regard to which area I can, which topic I can look at, which title I can take. Now that can be a research problem which we mentioned in the research process. Okay, so there may be a research problem. For example, a company doesn't have a motivation in the employees. So company is suffering from motivation of employees. Then that may be a problem for a company, or in society there may be many problems. Now if a COVID situation can be taken, now because of COVID-19 there may be economic crisis. So one can have a look at COVID and one impact on one particular area, automobile sector, hospitality sector, etc. Okay, now that becomes your title of the research, or that is the area you are looking at exactly. Now that is a narrow area you are talking about. Now while fixing that narrow area, one should be very careful, because later on it is difficult to come back and then do research on another area. So while each word in that title is very important, or topic is very important. So this research problem or research title give a way to research questions. Now for example, I told motivation, lack of motivation in the employees. Now that can be, that must be converted to questions. Now what can be the questions with regard to that? What are the reasons for the lack of motivation? So you are interested in studying the reasons for lack of motivation, or what can be done with regard to increase the motivation, or what are the techniques available to keep the employees happy. So these are the questions which you are looking at. So this is research question with regard to that particular problem. Similarly, you have to frame question with regard to your topic or your area. Now once the question is done, this question becomes objective. Now I said I am looking at factors which are resulting in lack of motivation, or reasons for lack of motivation. Now objective can be to know or to understand what are the reasons, or to understand the reasons for the lack of motivation in XYZ company. Okay, now that becomes the objective. So questions become objective. Now these objectives can have hypothesis. Now one objective may have multiple hypothesis. Okay, now I am starting with the same aspect of questions, objectives, and then hypothesis. Now hypothesis in detail we will study, but for this sake, hypothesis is nothing but a statement which you want to test. Okay, an assumption you want to test. Now hypothesis for this particular problem of lack of motivation is senior employees have more lack of more motivation than junior employees. Okay, or designation has an impact on the motivation of employees. So now you are linking, you are testing whether designation have an impact. You can have null and alternative hypothesis. We will talk about that little later, hypothesis, in the next PPT. Okay, hypothesis. Now you frame an hypothesis. Okay, now hypothesis also linked to objectives. So there is an area, then you do research review of literature on that, you form you have a problem, then that is title, you form questions for that, from questions objectives, and objectives, from objectives hypothesis, and then it is analysis tools. Now this is called as research design. This analysis part, which method, which sample, who are the sample respondents, how sample is selected, where is your population, all that is part of research design, which we will be discussing in the next PPTs. And then conclusion. Now based on your research you give a conclusion. Yeah, research design. Now it is nothing but an arrangement of conditions for collection and analysis of data. Now the best meaning is the last one, techniques, methods and procedures adopted to carry out research. See, techniques, methods, procedures adopted to carry out research. Okay, it also includes an outline of what an investigator will do from writing the hypothesis and their operational implications. Just now I told, from writing hypothesis till final analysis. So what is the hypothesis, how do you select the sample, what is the method of sampling, who are the sample, what is the sample size, which technique you are using, which statistical tool you are using, why you are using that. Now that is called as research design. Now type of research design, to talk about type of research design, basically there are 4 types of research design: descriptive, exploratory, case study, and then causal. Okay, now descriptive research design is suitable for survey based study, or where you are describing the population. In detail explanation is given in the next slides. Let us move on to the next slide. So exploratory research design. Now exploratory research design, as the meaning itself states, you are trying to explore, we are trying to find out something new. Okay, it is the simplest and the most flexible, most loosely structured designs. Okay, there is no scientific way now for carrying out the research. For example, our ancestors, that is famous scientists like Galileo, Edison, etc., found out so many things. Now they did not have a proper method or proper structure. They just identified so many trial and error methods and then identified a product, or they explored a product. So while exploration, you may not have a very systematic research design. Now in this particular aspect, we may use, or the researcher may use, expert opinion method, where opinion of experts are taken into account, and focus group discussion can be carried out. Now expert opinion means you are collecting opinion from experts on the particular topic. Now for example, one is doing a research on medicine, then doctors become experts, some nurses may become experts, the related people may become experts. Focus group discussion is you identify a group and then get information from them in the form of discussion. So lot of information is carried out here. See, there is unlike your questionnaire where there is no set of questions here, just the discussion carries out and then you make note of each and everything. Next aspect is descriptive. As I told you, descriptive research design is a research design which is more structured and formal in nature, where the researcher tries to generate a data, see, who, what, when, where, why, and how. That is complete details with regard to population and sample is trying to analyze. Now that is description, as the word itself states, description, describe. Okay. Causal and experimental, where researcher tries to experiment. Now for example, advertising and productivity, or sales. Now you invest 1 lakh on advertisement and see what is the sales. You invest 2 lakh on advertisement and find out what is the sales. Then you take a decision. Now experimental is almost like that. Usually medical and other field also does this experimental process. See, researcher actively manipulates one or more causal variables. Just now I said we change the advertisement investment and then see what is the impact or effect on the dependent variable. Dependent variable here is sales. So sales depends on advertising. That is experimental. So that is causal, cause and effect. We identify cause and effect. Now that is all with regard to research design and little bit about research process. Thank you very much.